Welcome to today's 4Ps podcast. Since August of 2023, this podcast has been on the air. And in March of 2024, the book, The 4Ps of You, was released. When that book was released, I got to go on a book tour, and the podcast and the book has allowed me to meet some great individuals. One individual I got to meet on my journey is a man in Orlando, Florida. His name is Peter Cook. He has a story that his story is great, but he had someone literally change his life and change the world. We will be right back with Peter Cook's story right after this.
Do you have the next big thing? That world-changing whatchamacallit? Do you have a story to tell? You need a show-stopping web presence. You need the web spinners at Webinet. With big picture solutions, spinning together SEO, stellar web design, blogging, podcasts, and social media integrations, you'll find yourself developing your latest and greatest thing, idea, or telling that next chapter in your story. Look us up today at webinet.com, and remember, you're not everywhere unless you're Webinet.
Welcome back to the program. People come into our life and they touch our life. They're meant to be in our life, even if it's good, if it's bad, because there's always a lesson to be learned. There's a life to be saved. There's something to be done. And everyone that is in your life, they're there for a reason, whether it be good or bad. It's a lesson that we learn. It's part of our journey. It's part of life in general. And that's what I believe. In Peter's case, Peter had a brother, who he loved dearly, who he did respect his counsel, and that individual changed his life. The story that you are about ready to hear is just, it validates my belief in what I think people are here to do. And we've all run into it. We've all run into people who've come in your life and said one thing. I know when in my book, The 4Ps of You, I talk about Chief Buck Canfield. And Chief Canfield came to me one day, and I'm giving you a story in my book. I want you to buy the rest of the book, but I want to give you a story in this book. I was a recruiter under Chief Canfield, and he said, you're one of the best recruiters I've ever met in my life. And I was like, thank you very much. And he was a career recruiter. He was a damn good one at that. And he said, I'm about ready to retire soon. I'm like, yes, Chief, you are. He said, and I'm going to get me a really good job. And I said, yes, Chief, you are. And he said, if your resume, talking about mine, if my resume crossed his desk, he wouldn't hire me. And I was like, Chief, why? You've got to be kidding me. And it really kind of angered me a little bit. But he said, because Trunis or Goggins, he actually used to call me G. He said, G, he said, you have an opportunity to get a college degree and you did not get one. Now, at the time he told me that, I was 33 years old. And he's right. I did not have a college degree at 33. I went on from that conversation. The very next day, I was enrolled at Marion College, which is now called Marion University in Indianapolis, Indiana. I went from my bachelor's degree all the way to my doctorate. I did not stop. I did not take a break because of what he said. The very first person I called after getting my dissertation approved and defending my dissertation, the very first person I called right after that was Chief Buck Canfield. I didn't call my mother. I didn't even tell my wife at the time. I called Chief Buck Canfield and said, hey, I got my doctorate. And actually I had to do it through Facebook because I didn't have his number. But that is exactly what I did. He changed my life. Today, I benefit from his one statement, from him coming into my life. And people come to your life at the right time. People say the right thing at the right time. And that's the way it is. Now, you have to receive it. All right. And if you receive it properly, you will benefit from it. Now, on the same note, You're probably sitting there going, well, what about this? What about that? What about the other? What about the bad people that come into your life? You know what? Those people are supposed to be there too. And sometimes, we're not going to talk about those people, but they give you some valuable lessons as well. There have been some really bad people in my life that, you know what, in retrospect, it hurt. It hurt a lot. But you know what? I'm glad they were there because they made me learn some life lessons that really needed to be learned. When we come back, we are going to be talking to Peter Cook. Peter Cook, like I said, his story is phenomenal. His joy and his smile and his delivery is infectious, and you're going to really love that as well. But we'll be back with Peter Cook right after this. I want to thank you for your continued support on the 4Ps podcast. This podcast is growing every single day. And just recently, I found out that there is an autonomous region in the English Channel named Jersey. And the reason why I found out that there's this region is because there are people listening to the podcast in that area. And I want to thank you so much for your support. If you enjoy the 4Ps podcast and you enjoy stories similar to the ones you hear on the podcast, you will love the book, The 4Ps of You. The 4Ps of You is a collection of stories that deal with those 4Ps, and those Ps are purpose, planning, passion, and persistence. These are a great way to build that foundation and go forward in planning life and finding your meaning and finding your purpose. That is the 4Ps of You. It is available on Amazon. It is available at Barnes & Noble here in the United States. It is also available at Chapters and Indigo Bookstore in Canada. It is available in the UK. It is available all around the world. You can find it. And you know what? I'm going to make sure that it is in Jersey. That is the 4Ps of You. Please get it. Please read it. And thank you for your continued support. Welcome back to the program. We had, like I was telling you earlier today, and I was telling you also before in other episodes, I get to travel the country. And since the book came out, The 4Ps of You, I've been traveling the country. I've been traveling all of North America, as a matter of fact, United States, Canada. I will be going to Australia here in March. We're just going everywhere with the 4Ps. And one of the greatest things about these travels is I get to meet some very interesting people that share very interesting stories. And at that point, I get so compelled that I say, hey, listen, you need to be on and share your story because, you inspired me. And I know that you're going to inspire my audience because the audience obviously is inspired by what I bring onto the program. So we have today, I was down in Orlando, Florida, back in September. I was at the NAMI conference down there. It is a state conference dealing with mental health. And I got to meet a man by the name of Peter Cook. And Peter Cook has such an outstanding story. And he is on the air right now. I'm running my mouth so long. Let me introduce Peter. Peter, how are you today?
I am fantastic, Trueness. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Now, the funny thing is we did have a couple conversations about football when I saw you. Who are you a fan of?
I'm a fan of the Washington football team, the Commanders.
Right. And you know what? I'm going to tell you that Commanders team or whatever they're called. I mean, I heard that they're trying to change the name back to their original name. They're just going everywhere. But I will say one thing is consistent is for the first time since probably Joe Theismann, they have an outstanding person behind center. Daniels is he's the real deal. I am impressed with that young guy. He's doing great.
It's refreshing to see. It's been a few decades, like you said, since we've had any hope of having a decent football team, putting a good product on the field, or being inspired to even watch.
Absolutely. This is the first time ever that, and I mean this, that I'm actually, kind of pulling for Washington. Now, if Washington plays Buffalo in a rematch of the Super Bowl, all bets are off. I don't like them anymore. But right now, they're okay because they're going. Peter, we're not talking about football today. We are definitely talking about your story. It was very inspiring. Please share with us. Tell us about yourself.
Well, it's there's so many different ways I could go tell you about myself, but one of my favorite examples is two of my favorite human beings of all time. One is Ray Kroc, who was 54 years old when he founded McDonald's, when he discovered the McDonald's brothers and realized that they had created one of the most incredible businesses of all time, that they had in some ways invented the fast food industry as we know it today. And it's the story of how you're never too old to start again, that today you can change your life forever.
Absolutely.
And the other one is the story of the American Red Cross and how that was started by a woman who was 63 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She founded it at age 63. And in my story, I was 40 and I went through that crossroads in life. And I'm a recovered alcoholic, and you don't know what you don't know. What I realized is I have an allergy to alcohol, is that when I take one drink, I can't stop. I share a thing called Tool Drop. I go into a treatment center once a week, and I bring an invisible bag of tools that will change your life. And one of the stories I share is from the movie Hitch with Will Smith. I ask, has everyone seen the movie? And 99% of the people are like, yeah, I've seen the movie. And there's a scene in the movie with Will Smith where he's on a date, and he has seafood. He has a seafood stew, and it has shellfish in it. And he's allergic to shellfish. And he has an allergic reaction. First thing, his throat starts closing up. Then his face starts swelling. And he's having a physical allergic reaction. What I didn't realize is when I take that first drink, I have an allergic reaction myself. And it was through the love of my brother who identified my struggle. It's like having a hand right in front of your face, but being able to see around it and saying, there's a hand in your face. And you're like, no, there's not, because you can still see. Because my life was still good. I had I had a phenomenal job. Everything was going good. But on the inside, I was struggling. And it's so hard to say, I'm not doing well. And it was, especially as a man, it's that I'm going through a time of struggle or weakness, and you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't realize I had this problem. I thought life was fine and life was good, and I would just have to deal with it. And what I realized is that I just had an allergy. And acquiring that knowledge has been nothing short of a transformation, that my life has done a 180. I was living a life about self-serving. It was all about me, what I could get, what I could do, how much money I could make, what I could buy. But none of those things purchased happiness.
Right.
And when I realized the two most important things in life are peace and happiness, and finding my inner joy. And what I love to do is to help others. And it was in this transformation that I've discovered that joy. I discovered my passion and my purpose. And I think there's so many of us out there that struggle and that don't even know the question, what is my purpose?
Right.
And what's remarkable was my brother recognized my struggle in Christmas of 2016. He had come to visit me from Santiago, Chile, where he lived for the last 10 years as a teacher and educator, taught at the University of Santiago. And he walked me into the rooms of recovery at group therapy. And it was there, he stayed with me for 10 days, and then he went back to Santiago. After he left, so did I. I stopped going. I thought I was okay. I didn't need it. And 3 weeks later, I got a phone call that changed my life forever. The U.S. Embassy had called and said Andrew had passed away, that he had drowned on vacation. He was visiting a friend in Pacon, Chile, and was sucked under by a riptide. And like that, life went from color to black and white. And it was in that moment, I knew what I needed to do. I needed to go back into the rooms of AA and give it a chance. Do 90 meetings in 90 days and see if it worked. If it didn't work, it didn't work. But at least I looked myself in the mirror. I put my hand on the mirror and I stared inside my soul. I said, Peter Cook, you're going to do 90 meetings in 90 days. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. but at least you can say you did it.
Right.
And I did. That was 7.5 years ago, and my life has never been the same since. And shortly after, about 6 months later, I asked God, why am I still alive and Andrew's gone? What's my purpose? And most of us never ask that question. What's my purpose? That we get so caught up in living life that we never stop to ask the great Creator, what's my purpose?
Right.
And it was that day that the largest heart was put on my heart. And the largest heart it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to spread hope, love, and knowledge, one opportunity at a time.
So, it's funny how, you ask the question, why are you here, and your brother's not.